Welcome to this episode of the Elite Question Askers. My name is Jayson Wells.
Williams.
This guy.
Dietrich Taylor.
Fellas, what the business is? Man, I missed y'all, man.
It's been
a minute.
See, we still in sync though. I got both y'all saying the same thing at the same time, man. We for real like brothers, man. We ain't got to talk every day to still be on the same word. We're gonna elevate that.
It's a unique experience.
What you got, man? It's been a minute for real. Let's. I'm eager to hear these fist bump moments. Who would love to start us off with these fist bump moments?
Let's go, DT.
What
you know, man?
Yeah, mine would be centered around, my job and getting a commitment from a kid that we've been working our behind off trying to get, in this recruiting season. I don't know if I can publicly acknowledge him yet because his paperwork still ain't in. So just getting a commitment and kind of seeing the
Twitter acknowledged him already.
Yeah, that's because he acknowledged that's what he was doing. So I could like it and retweet it, but I can't comment.
What? That's where we at.
Rules, bro. It's the rules.
That's what the NBA or NCAA said. Can't do that.
All right. Well, kudos and fist bumps to you.
Appreciate it.
Mo, when we go, you want to go last? Which one? Guess
Jayson?
That's the same thing. My fist bump moment is revolved around first this, like just being on here with y'all. Yeah, for real, I missed y'all. Yeah, it's good to be back. And also too, man, like just being in this space, man, I feel like the analogy that I've been using, and each of you guys have heard me say this, but I shot a whole bunch of jump shots in my backyard and at the playground before somebody said, hey, man, we really like the way you shoot jump shots. We want to pay you some money for it. And in this space of business, I feel like that's what I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years is shooting jump shots in the backyard where not a whole lot of people saw the work that was going on. And now from a business standpoint, yeah, man, I got some people that are starting to acknowledge that they like the way I shoot jump shots in this business space. And it's starting to not just turn around, but turn around quickly. Like it's happening quickly. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about where I'm going. I'm excited about an intentional pause that I took that both you guys know about in some of the spaces that I'm in with calls. And it's not a pause of I'm overwhelmed. It was actually, that was a business pause too of, yeah, let me structure this thing to where it's going to be beneficial from an energy standpoint and beneficial from a service standpoint. So yeah, I'm excited about where I am in life right now.
That's good things. I can't wait to hear what you bring when you come back off of pause.
Yeah. It's a lot.
I know that's going to be some fire you're going to bring to us. My fist bump moment is, this is tough because it's been so long and I think there's some good things that's been happening in my life, but I would say one that comes to mind is being a light, and being a light in the sense of, I'm not going to give names, but there was this particular individual at my job walked by me one day, and I'm sure you guys have felt or seen this before, but I could just tell like by the weight of like his shoulders, like something wasn't right. So I like intentionally created a pause and just said, yo, man, can you come over to my office? And he like looked at me like I was kind of weird. And I was like, hey, can you come on in? I want to talk to you real quick. And I just proceeded to like thank him for the effort that he continues to bring to the students at our university and what he does. And I mean, this finished his first year, but what he's done as far as like with media and opportunities and different things that we've never had. I mean, even my players are involved in what he's doing. And like I hear about it in the locker room. And it went from them doing something with him in the fall to like now the whole team was doing it with him in the spring. And I just said, man, like I thank you. Like I think you're doing an incredible job. And like literally I looked at him and it looked like he was about to cry. And he just said, like, Coach, you don't understand how much that means to me. I don't hear that a lot. And I was like, okay, where are you looking to be validated from? So he shared that. And I said, even if you're validated from that, would that still truly fulfill you? And he's like, no, I never really thought about that. It just feels good to be acknowledged and hear the word thank you. And I just told him, like, man, the most powerful thing that's on this earth is light. You know, you look at how in any dark room, no matter how dark it is, light will always be a focal point and will drive away any darkness. And I was like, man, whether you hear this or not, like you're a light on this campus, you're a light in this world, and don't allow or try to search for validation from things that truly weren't there to give you what you were supposed to be anyways. And I could just tell, like, it meant a lot to him. You know, he's like, man, since I've been here, no one's ever done that. And it just reminds me of what I'm supposed to be. You know, like the darker the room, the more valuable the light is. And that's why I did that. That's why I am where I am. And I think my clarity of purpose on where I am is more clear than ever before. And that opportunity was just a small piece of being that light and reminding him that he is that on our campus too. So that's my fist bump moment, man, is just continuing to encourage people. And that moment was cool because, I mean, I don't think he even realized that that's what I wanted to do to him. I wanted nothing other than to make his day better. So that's my fist bump.
That's how you gonna bring in the season finale, dog, with all that fire like that?
Hey, man, just being me.
Damn. That's
We should start allowing him to go last because his stuff is just
it's a perfect transition into whatever we're gonna talk about, right? See?
makes mine like
So what'd you say?
The comparison is the thief of joy.
Man, see? You can't even compliment without getting knowledge dropped on you, dog.
I'm just saying. I mean, I think it's a big deal. You've been working your butt off over recruiting, so I think that's a big deal.
we have. We definitely have.
So here we are. I just mentioned it, season finale. And yeah, I literally got nothing to talk about outside of I would love to recap this season and B, forecast into whatever the future looks like for us. So yeah, Ignite question would be more along the lines of like, yeah, what did this season of a podcast, because we've all done a podcast either on our own or with other people or however that may have looked. Yeah, I'm excited to see, like, as you recap personally what this season looked like, where you at with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first because I know Mo got that, that instant dragon fire. So, for me, it just is an opportunity to connect with you guys and practice some of the things that you preach, but then also evaluate how those things are playing up and how those things are playing out and how they show up, and how you want them to show up and how they do show up. For me personally, it's just been a constant reminder of trying to hold myself to a higher standard, to respond the way that I would like to show up in any given space.
And that's it. You're just gonna fall off of that. That's it. That's just good on any given space, and I'm done. Dang.
What is that? That a game?
Yeah, that was new to me. That was
what does peace? What, like, why are you guys trying to make up something?
because it felt like it was.
First of all, do not put your fingers on the screen because your thumb is literally about to touch your wrist. Like, that's way out of line. First of all, so let's just stay on topic. When you
notice greatness, Kobe, MJ. When you notice greatness. Understand that. Half moon thumb. Oh,
that don't look like a half moon thumb. That
crescent,
like backwards
crescent.
thumb.
It's crescent.
There's nothing crescent. That look like that thing is straight backwards.
Yep.
Oh man.
This is where I'm gonna choose not to go left because this could go left real quick. Mo, come on, man. Bring us out of this. You just talked about being the light. Bring us out of this dark place we're in right now.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna steer us right back in, man, because here's just one thing I've enjoyed about this is y'all dudes are hilarious, man. And I mean, it's funny. It's good humor. It's some slight immaturity. The fact that I'm the youngest on here, and sometimes I got to be the one that steers us back in, which I don't mind. Every team, everybody's got a role, But man, I think turning it back. I've loved just the conversation we've had. Like, stuff is needed. It's not talked about. I mean, I talked to a coaching friend of mine over this weekend, and all I thought about was like, man, I want to get him plugged in to this in some type of way. Maybe not on the podcast, but, to some of the calls that you do. And why I would even say that is because, like, he's ready. Like, his vulnerability is, like, insane. But I think that, like, Jay, you hit me this weekend when I was on the elliptical, and you said, yo, we skiing now? And then 2 days later, you got on there. And I think that ability to, like, know you're not running alone and people are there with you, not watching you to judge you, but, like, there to be like, hey, man, you sure you being what you say you want to be? Is huge. And I think we do that for each other. And this platform has just been really cool to just share and really talk about things that I don't think a lot of people talk about. So I've enjoyed it, man. It's been fun. It's been funny, but like a little bit of what D said, man, I've kind of learned about myself and just other ways to grow too.
Message.
I appreciate that. It's wild, bro. Like, so y'all know for the past 4 weeks, I've been in St. Louis. And only the first week was supposed to be there. And then per request of the client, here we go. We want him. And one of the things that I say in the workshops is that I learn myself by learning other people. And I didn't realize the power of that statement, that I learned myself, and I learned myself continuously by learning other people. And that ain't always just like the great stuff. Like, sometimes I will intentionally listen to somebody that I know going into it, I ain't gonna necessarily care for their thought process or their philosophy or whatever it is. And I'll still intentionally listen to it to see if I can pull out something from it, or to either affirm or reaffirm to myself, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's kind of what you thought, like that. You ain't really feeling that. So again, I think it is creating that space. And I think a cool part about it is I had a conversation with, you guys have heard me talk about Dan. Dan is the husband of the lady that I would refer to as my coach in this space. And I met with him face to face yesterday. Dan just turned 60. DU the 1st, he's the 5th of May.
Nice.
And he
Nice.
turned,
Cinco de Mayo.
yeah. So he turned
Let's get
60
it.
on Cinco de Mayo. And same deal, man. I asked him, I was like, you know, sitting there yesterday, what's your money moment? And he said his money moment was the affirmation of him being able to pour into me and kind of affirm some things that the places that I'm in. But just before that, he looked at me and said, he was looking at me and said, I see my future self in you. I'm sitting there like, damn, if that ain't what? You 60 years old looking at me 15 years younger than you, and you say you see your future self in me? And it just brings to light this constant learning, this my little pendant, this continuous infinity of ebb and flow. Like, D, you a few years older than me. We are both more than 10 years older than Mo, yet we all in this place where we learn from each other. It ain't like this hierarchy of I'm the oldest, I got to be the one responsible for delivering this information, or I'm the youngest and I can't, you know, be the one to give. Like, it's just this reciprocal learning piece. So that's what I appreciated most out of not just this podcast, but our conversations that we have outside of that. And I will finish with this. This is a real text message. Real text message, real screenshot that says, I just had to share this. Y'all are too funny. Thank you, Mo and DT, for all the laughs, entertainment, education, and insight. There's always something meaningful to take away. I truly enjoyed listening. Bro, this is from a lady that teach with Kimon. Like, this ain't no basketball person. This ain't nobody that's rooted in the athletic space. This is a woman that 6 months ago, I ain't even know who she was and still haven't shared the same, you know, space as her. And out of the blue, unsolicited, today, she wrote that.
Wow.
Like,
that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's where it's at for me. So that's my recap is, yeah, Mo, you talked about coaches who need us, but man, I feel like it's people that's showing up in this space as well.
There's a lot of truth to that. A lot of truth to that. This is not a one dimension or one denomination segment. Like, this speaks to everybody. Really, to anybody that wants to listen and feel like they can get something out of it, because we don't necessarily speak directly about what it is that we are called professional to do. You know, we speak about life, in my opinion, and that to me speaks to everybody.
Let's question. So, empathy. We hear that word a lot. It's one of these buzzwords that's getting thrown around. We need to have empathy. We need to have empathy. So again, in these workshops that I do, and this is one of those things that isn't in the content, is one of my little anecdotes of it. But for me, I define empathy as this: content goes out of the window, and I find myself connected to the person. Not because of the content. Like, I'm standing in front of these groups. I've been standing in front of a bunch of people that work at a grocery store for the past 4 weeks. Some of them like basketball. Some of them don't. Some of them don't even like sports. And I'm standing there talking, telling stories about basketball for 90 minutes, 2 hours at a time. And if we get stuck to the content, that can get lost real easy. I'm talking about me and my 13 months of hell and retirement and divorce and bankruptcy and all that. Some people been through it, some people ain't. But the connection now comes from content goes out of the window. I don't have to experience what you experience to be able to feel the feeling of being human. And I think that's what we do. I think we create this space where whether you rock with basketball or not, whether we sitting here talking about basketball or not, there have been some episodes where it's been heavily basketball driven. And I feel like this young lady can still listen to it and still pull something from it. So yeah, man, I think that, human is human. And I feel like the more we can create these spaces where we see people as human and see people as not as objects, it's hard to do whatever you want to it's easy to do whatever you want to an object. If I don't even see you as human, I can do whatever I want to. I can say whatever I want to. I can walk into a grocery store.
Message.
That's yeah. Yeah. I was about to get on my soapbox, but because I don't think yes, it boils down to be a racial thing, but it's a people thing, man. It's a people thing.
What do you mean? What boils down to?
It's easy.
Not boiling down to a racial thing.
Like that specific example. Like, yeah, on the external, it was clearly racially motivated. But I also feel like it was hate motivated before it was racially motivated. And that hate probably came from within himself. Like, man, you got some people that's hurting out here. You got some people that's hurting out here. Like, it's spam, like we talked about. And whether you use those words that make up the acronym or not, for us, we've been talking about status, performance, appearance, and money. And you can lump some of that stuff in there too. You can maybe if you change the P from performance to power. If I got my identity, if my identity is wrapped up in power, and all of a sudden my power is being taken away from me, or I feel like it's in jeopardy, that's gonna make me do some things that make me feel like I need to hold on to that. And when you get one out of those four, it gets shaky. When you get two out of those four, you out of alignment. When you get three out of those four, it get pretty bad. You get four out of those four, and it get catastrophic. I'm done. I would love to hear what's going through your mind and through your heart with that, or whatever else y'all want to talk about.
I don't have anything relative towards that, but what I will say is I think an episode that stood out to me was the one about quitting. It was about quitting. Like, I think it was a cool episode because I think, and if I'm misinterpreting you, DT, please correct me, but I think that you had a perception of quit that, and Jayson, you and I didn't even talk about before we even got on here, but we had a very similar kind of thought to it, where I thought DT had a different one, and you can kind of see as we're talking, like, that definition and that kind of wheel spinning, like, hey, I kind of see that too. But I think about, like, man, how challenging that is against the norm, because, you look at your social media, you follow people that are the most of the things you consume. And I know for all of us on here, we follow coaches and athletes in sports. And how many times I promise I scroll through there and see a coach every day talk about this generation, or, it's not like how it used to be, or the portal, or people quitting. And instead of getting to the root of why are they quitting? Can you have empathy in that situation, or do you just stick to your old ways? Like, I don't think I've ever told you guys this, but in my 3 years of being here, we've had 14 guys not be in our program anymore, and not one of them that I cut. I use the analogy, like, I wanted to create a room where the thermostat was set to a temperature. If it was cold, you were either going to put a hoodie on or you were going to leave the room. And I feel when you come into something new, you only get that opportunity one time. Like if it starts off warm and you start cutting it, then you start to bother the people that's been there with you from the root of it. But if it's cut that way as soon as you come in, people either are able to adapt or they want to leave. And none of those departures were anything personal. I felt those individuals were, hey, this is no longer serving me, or it was from grades or a disciplinary action. But I think about that in the sense of, am I going to sit in my seat and say, man, these kids, or am I going to be understanding to how things have changed while also holding on to the standards that I believe? And I choose to go with the second one while I get better and make my standards even more clear with everything. Like even if you were late a minute, I'm holding that standard. Even if it is you didn't bring a book and I asked you to bring a book, I'm holding that standard. And I'm not just holding it, but I'm telling everybody in that group, we're all responsible if we're a part of this organization. If somebody doesn't hold that standard, we're all responsible to say it. It's not just this person. But, I just wanted to highlight that because I thought it was a really cool episode that I think a lot of people could take a lot from.
Yeah, I would definitely agree in terms of, taking the information and the perspectives that were shared in that episode. I think it was a powerful episode, but I think also it was probably one of the funniest episodes. Thanks to Jayson.
No, thanks to you.
That was out of line funny. That was out of line funny. Like I find myself often just thinking about the image that you painted, the picture of you sitting next to your mom with your chin.
And mouthpiece.
Where's your chin strap on and your mouthpiece, bro? Like that's yeah, I'm not gonna do that
at
right now,
5'8", I'm still at that size where your helmet would seem like it's twice as big as the rest of your body, all of that. And y'all saw I put in our chat, like Chuck had a similar story.
Yeah.
Chuck had a similar story. So it ain't just me, dog.
Yeah. No, I would venture to say there's a lot of people out there that experience that feeling.
Yeah.
And that sensation, where your helmet is so big, you turn that thing around and you looking out the eye hole versus the face. The ear hole.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, that was.
Mo, I think that's priceless though, bro. Like, we happen to be talking about in that episode, quit, but something that we've talked about outside of that episode is soft. These kids, they so soft. And all right, cool. I know, Marlon, another one of our guys that we're connected with, when presented with that redefinition or opportunity, and all this stuff is, man, like we are all in these spaces where like we're challenging the words that we use, the verbiage that we use, or the definitions that we use. Are they our definitions, or are they culture's definitions that we just adopted and not put much challenge to? But when we brought up the soft word and phrase, that was an eye-opening moment for Mar, because like, are they really soft? Are you talking about a generation of young person who has witnessed more death, destruction, debt? Like they since you talking about a young person that's born in 2000 has seen 2 financial crises. You know what I'm saying? 2. We grew up learning about the Great Depression. They've been through 2. War, death. Like, are they soft? So, and that was an eye-opening moment too, man. So I think, I think the spaces that we create allow people to know. And then again, both you guys know this word challenge, like it's real. And it's not a word change. I don't give a shit what word you use. I do want you to know why you're using the word you're using. And if you just using them because you've always used them, or if you just using them because that's what society or your parents told you to do, we're going to question that. That's my light. That's how I show up. Cool. You sure that's what you want to think? That's what you think. Okay, cool.
I mean, I push on that in the sense of I think everybody's soft. You know, I think raising a younger, I'm raising a younger child than where you guys are, but I think we come into this world and we're raised soft because we're raised to we have to be dependent of somebody. Like we're, you know, again, my daughters too, as you guys know, but like all she knows is I'm not getting this, mommy, daddy. And that's what we're supposed to do. I think there is a stage in life where it goes from you being that source to teaching them to figure it out. And that's where it goes from soft to where I would say having mental toughness. And to me, mental toughness is your ability to endure something that's challenging while having the tools necessary to withstand the battle. And I would say with these kids, those lessons aren't being had. So that's why they're labeled as soft. I think to your point, Jay, like, yeah, those are world events. Like I would agree with you, but there's still, you know, I think where coaches are saying that is, man, he quit because he's tired, you know, or those are the examples that I hear. And where I'm saying is like, I'm big into, you guys have heard me say this even with my team, like I got to be a better coach. I got to be a better coach. Like, you know, we're preparing these guys for the most challenging battles of a game. So that means you're going to be down, you're going to be up, somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to foul out, you're going to have to adjust, you're going to have a bad shooting night. So through all these possible scenarios, do we have tools or training to go to able to withstand those challenges? And I would say for my group, no. Where I would say we've changed is like, we're working on those things constantly, and it's not coming from me. You know, like we're reading this summer, all those things, and then we're gonna go a step further on. You know, what we doing with it? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna digest it. We're gonna sit. We're gonna use it. But I would say the difference is just kids aren't getting that mental training. So they're labeled as soft when in reality, we all were soft. We just had some type of life circumstances that have caused us or had some type of training in that process to help us learn tools to help us out of it. At least I'm speaking for myself.
Diedrich?
Why do you have to call me by that name? Like what I feel like there's a level of sarcasm when you do those types of things, when you behave in such manner. Like, what are you saying? What are you trying to do?
Just eager to hear your thought process in this. That's all.
My thought process would be maybe a little bit more. I don't know if challenging would be the right word or the right term that I would use, but I would also point the finger at those that are responsible for giving to or creating the environment in terms of this. I'm a parent. I don't want to ever see my kids struggle. I don't want to see them go through nothing bad. I'm trying to do everything I can to eliminate the possibility that they will experience that. And in that perspective, that in my mind creates a level of softness, to use your word. Because when I was coming up, my dad, I don't know what his perspective was, but if it was something hard, like sit in that. Yeah, sit in that, experience that. What that
pushing
feel
you
like.
towards it.
Yeah, feel what that feel like. What does that sensation give you? What are you learning from that? And I think more parents are not necessarily providing their kids with or they are providing their kids with the tools, but instead of in their zeal to provide that for them, they're trying to give them an answer that eliminates the struggle. It eliminates going through hard times. It eliminates the darkness of those moments when maybe it was a little different for us coming up when, your parents, they told you, hey, that stove is hot, and they walked away. If you touched it, that was you. You learned from that stove being hot. You burned your ass up. Whereas nowadays, to use that same analogy, parents take the stove out. Don't even use the stove. They go buy food.
Message.
They go Chick-fil-A and all these other different places. And I'm exaggerating the example, but I think the point is taken in terms of the parents are responsible for just creating a different environment that elicits a different response and a different sensation. And that sensation is the word that we used, maybe soft. It's not providing the tools that Mo spoke about that we need to survive. Like I don't want to get into that in terms. I'll share this with you really quick. So I think I might have said it on this episode, but I was 9 years old playing on an 11-year-old all-star team. I'm 9 on the 11-year-old baseball team. I'd never played baseball before in my life, actually. And so for me to get that was an honor. Like that was a big deal to graduate towards the all-star team on an 11-year-old team. Just so happens my dad comes to the game. I ride the bench. I don't play at all. But I'm happy, man. I'm running out there giving fives and getting water and, doing my thing. So we get in the car to go home. I don't know if we won or lost. We get in the car to go home, and my dad was, it was silent. The radio wasn't on, there was nothing. He was just like looking straight ahead. I ain't never rode the bench in nothing. At no time, ever. And I'm saying, like, he talking to me? Ain't nobody else in the car but me and him. But it was, what he was saying was, don't just be satisfied to be in a situation. Why don't you make some noise in that situation? And that's how I learned that lesson. Whereas I don't know that we would teach that lesson. I don't know that lesson would be taught the same way. And literally he was not relenting on that fact that he's never rode the bench in nothing ever. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
How did you respond to that though? Like clearly you were dejected in the moment, but like, did you respond with, okay, here's what I'm about to go do, even though I'm the 9-year-old on the 11-year-old team? Like how you come out of that?
I was trying to make sense of that. Like, what does that mean? What are you trying to say? Like, why would you say that to me? What are you saying? And it probably took me a little while to figure it all out, what he was saying, which is another, one of those teaching points. I had to make it make sense to me. I had to make his words make sense in my world, so to speak. And so I think I asked my mom something about it, and she was just like, what? Get away from me. Basically, beat it.
In what sense? In his defense or what?
Because she wasn't there. It was she wasn't there. She couldn't make sense of what he was saying, what he was doing. None of the above. Like she was at choir rehearsal somewhere in Los Angeles. And so me being in a Little League game was like the last thing on her mind. And so now what she want to deal with, when she got home. So I had to fend for myself. I had to understand it and make sense of the situation, to come to the realization of, don't ever be satisfied with being in the room. Let people know you're in the room. You're in the room for a reason, not just to hang out, not just to be the fly on the wall. Like that's your name's Taylor. Don't embarrass that. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of lessons that he would say and or do with just the way that he approached situations and his perspective.
So yes, we touched on this. Mo just mentioned it in his words. Change with the times, yet cling to unchanging principles. There's a principle in that story that we should be anchored in. Do the methods of how your dad relayed that message, do those now come across? Can I hold true to that principle of don't just be in the room, you are a whatever your name is, Taylor, Williams, Wells. Can you hold on to that principle and potentially modify the method in our parenting styles, in our coaching styles, in our teaching styles? Because here's what I've noticed. Yes, it's us. Bernie Mac told us in his comedic way 20 years ago when he talked about us as the parents. And like, because here's what you got, man. You got these parents who have seemed to be on the, and it's like, this is a microcosm of our world. It seems like there's very little gray anymore. There's very little middle ground. I got to be right or left with everything. I got to be black or white with everything. I got to be wrong or right with everything. Ain't no figuring this thing out. So you got these parents who were raised how we were raised. And now in parents or as parents, it's now, I'm either going to do what I know and and you soft, or I'm going to flip all the way to the other side and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you don't have to go through anything that I ever had to go through. And we're going to eat ice cream for dinner and all of the other nonsense, because I just want to make sure you ain't have to go through none of the stuff that I had to go through. And I feel like what gets lost in those extremes is there are some principles that are forever ongoing. Now, how they came across to us? Because you're right, bro. Hey, man, that stove hot. And then like you being PG-13 with it, because the reality of it is, if you touch that stove, it was more than just I told you it was hot. You might have got beat down more for touching it because I told you it was hot.
Let me help you. In my house, there was no mic to it. You was getting your ass beat while you was burning. And after all of that, hey, put some butter on it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Butter. Like, that's what we're going to put on that. But that's the worst thing to put on it. Your ass going to keep cooking.
You going to be sizzling.
But, like, we can sit here and we can talk about all this different stuff, man, because the same thing. Like, I think about Miss Reed across the street. Miss Reed across the street, kids was older than me. And also, if Miss Reed saw me doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, she was about to yank my ass up before anybody else and do what she felt. And it wasn't nothing about it to it. And then was going to give me back to my rightful owners. And they was going to do whatever they were supposed to do. And they wasn't about to get salty at Miss Reed. They was about damn near. I felt like them and Miss Reed was high-fiving. Great job. I appreciate that. I got you when you need me. Now, fast forward 2022, Miss Reed shutting her blinds. Like, I feel like there's a lot to that. I feel like there's a lot to that. And yes, I feel like it's across the board. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How do we move forward? What's the vision on where we go from here? Because if we've discussed that we are necessary, how do we show up? What's some topics that you would like to talk about, or a direction that you would want to go, or guests you think we should have or look to invite on? Like, where you want to go?
I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily have a direction that I want to go. I think continuing to talk about some of the current events, some of the things that we see, some of the things that we experience on a weekly basis, having some conversation and creating some space for people to dialogue about that would be something that would be important to me. That doing that, creating those spaces where people feel like I got a space to unwind, so to speak.
Yeah. Mo Will?
I don't disagree with what he said. I think that's what makes it unique. And then, I always think some good guests or, good additions too. Like, I always loved that Final Four episode. I thought was great. And that was another one that I pulled a lot from. But, Yeah, I think that's what makes it unique, man, is us just talking about real things. And there's a lot that's going on right now that I think we really can hit on as we move into season 2.
Yeah, if I could just throw this in, I know Mo has to roll, but if I would say this, like, is there is another perspective out there that is different and unique than ours? Can we find that person and have a conversation with them and let their perspective be represented as well? Because there's a part of the people that may listen to us that don't share the same perspective that we have, and let them hear and let them also understand that we're open to that. I am. Now I'm going to do something with that in terms of I'm going to identify them and I'm going to get the hell away from them. But, you know, I just don't want to come off like that our perspective, even though we share the same perspective, even though we believe those perspectives, it's not the end all be all in the same token. That makes sense. And I'm not saying that we all come from that space, because we don't, but to show that we don't, let's maybe find somebody that maybe shares a different perspective on some of these issues and some of these topics that we're discussing.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. And with that, bro, like, even we've talked about it on here, man, like whether it's, you know, your view on something, Mo's view on something, or my view on something, like even within that, we've had these conversations of, I don't necessarily agree with that within the three of us. And,
Sure.
and it still shows up. So 100%, I feel like that needs to happen. Literally as we wrap, and I'm hosting an event. D, you and I kind of talked about it when we chatted the other day, but like I am going to host an event specifically in this diversity, equity, and inclusion space that I am going to title the Incubator of Dialogue. Like when you think about an incubator, a real incubator for a child, for a newborn, like it's this perfect environment, perfect temperature, perfect light, perfect everything for a person, a young person who may have been born premature or having whatever challenges. Like it's this, we can create this perfect environment for this child to be able to grow and evolve. Like I want to do that with dialogue, and it ain't this environment where everybody get in here and agree with each other. I think that's the problem. I think that's what we're at. We're in this places where we are surrounded by everybody who thinks like us, believes like us about whatever it is we believe in. And when you in those spaces consistently, you ain't got no choice but to think that everybody else who don't think like that is crazy.
Yes.
I search for spaces where, yeah, let me be around some people who, like, I mean, y'all know, like some of my closest friends vote differently from me. Let's have that conversation. Oh, I get that. I get that. That makes sense. I ain't got to agree with it, but I can accept it. So,
and I think that's what makes us unique, is that we can agree with it or we can accept it.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean we agree with it.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
And we're cool with that. Whereas other people, they start a daggone war just because they don't agree with it and they don't accept it.
Thousands of years worth of wars.
Yes.
No doubt.
All right. I appreciate y'all for the last time for this season. Love y'all boys, man.
Love you too, man. This is awesome. This space is awesome. Let's not let it die.
No doubt. No doubt. There it is. There it is. One pinky, one index, one thumb, one love.
Hey, I love y'all, man.
Later.
Hey, I got you. Peace.
A few moments later.
And I'll let you know when we gonna air, but I want to have like some B-roll on this thing to where, you know.
Can you explain what does B-roll mean, man?
B-roll is we're gonna have some episodes of Martin where it's just gonna be bloopers and outtakes.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't want to be all, I want them to see raw and uncut.
Eddie Murphy, huh?
Yeah.
All right, then.
So y'all seen I just updated a couple questions, man. I just really want this one to be us. What you laughing at, Mo?
Bro, I'm just so confused on so many levels, man. First of all, you sent us a picture of Black History Month with a white man on it.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That was Indiana State's Twitter post today. Real talk.
And then that picture that DT sent had me crying, laughing.
Which one?
The one you put in our chat.
Hey.
Yeah, man. I mean, dang. Like,
I was confused. I was like, do we need to dress up? Like, what are we doing? I didn't get that memo. I just was coming right out the practice joint.
Me too. I just happened to look at Instagram and clicked on the page, and my man got his, his Steve Harvey look on. I was like, bro, I ain't ready for that.
Hey, but while you jiving, look, this was gonna really happen. This is real talk. DT, because you're in the super athleisure wear, you're not wearing suits. Built Basics is going to sponsor this podcast. I'm calling that out. They also going to outfit us because I'm athleisure as well. Mo Williams, my call out shop for us, sponsorship, Strahan suits. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned that to me the other day that he has his own clothing line or something.
Bro, he outfits.
Nice
outfits the whole staff. What is that? Fox he on? He outfits them. Bradshaw, all them. Yes.
Really?
Jackson State, he hooked them up too.
Yeah.
Deion's team.
Look at us, dog. Look, you got everything. Get everything, son.
I'm gonna just get a cup of coffee real quick.
Oh,
you're making them uncomfortable, man.
I wish I was uncomfortable.
this is, he was telling us about his underwear rolling over. It's because his ass eats cheesecake and drink coffee instead of eating a meal.
I forgot to eat. Man.
I forgot to eat.
What you want me to do?
Says the man. I forgot to eat.
How do you forget to eat?
Just got so much shit on my mind.
And then we're going to talk about being in March Madness and literally continuing our conversation we had. Like, I'm going to share about this guy. It's the kind of shit you scroll through, bro.
Yeah,
and then you say it to me. Don't do that.
Can we just title this episode DT? Let's talk about him.
I was just about to say, if you're going to ask me something or you want me to piggyback on the conversation, make me go last because my mind is all over the place.
All right, just roll with me. We're recording. My mama used to tell me if you flinch, you must deserve it.
I must, because I thought I was about to all you got to take, can't you slap me?
That's what I always do.
No,
that's literally what I always do. I'm just not normally sitting next to you.
The intentions of death.
I mean, I can't help it. I'm a physically imposing dude.
I thought it was a sign of you going for the new open they got Florida.
All right. Here we go. You got your coffee? You ready?
Ready.
I ain't got nothing to drink. Where the Uncle Nearest? Give me some Crown.
You want some Crown?
9-6. No, I don't. You just want an excuse to get your ass up. No. 9-16. We're gonna call it 9-17. See, Mo, you just made a face. Your unaware faces. You just made one. Just let me know, man. Okay, here we go. You finished? I don't want to say welcome while you sipping your macchiato. Damn.
Man, have you used that before?
I've never. That was straight freestyle.
It sounded like Steve Harvey, man. That was good.
Straight freestyle.
Straight Steve Harvey.
Straight freestyle.
That was really good.
I appreciate it.
You did that, man.
See, man, I do my best. Hey, man, can I say something?
No.
Being around this cat's team has been some of the most affirming energy that I've gotten. Like like these dudes, Coach Jay, you coming with us? Coach Jay, you coming with us, right? Coach Jay, you coming? It's unreal, bro. It's
Hey, I'm gonna share something, and I'm not even trying to be funny. I have been known when I say these kind of things for them to happen, but I'm just gonna say it. All right. When I see y'all's bald heads on that sideline and going crazy and the KDs while he on the other side is calm. And I just see something, man, that for some reason this ain't gonna be the end. I see bigger. And I see you somehow being a part of that, man, whether it's a special assistant to the head coach. You don't got to go recruiting. You know, I don't know what the compliance looked like for that, but I can see it. I can see it. And that was the feeling I got being a viewer, a fan, watching all the way on the East Coast, man. So that was cool. You know,
I had a kid's mom tell me, square business, quote, I don't know who you are, but the energy that you brought to the bench this weekend was needed and necessary. And then it's funny, I don't even know, 'cause I don't go past a certain coach.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what they doing on the other end. I got no idea. All I know is I ran out one time out and I damn near got us a tech, and I felt so damn bad. Referee, hey, dude, you can't run the half court like that. And I just looked at D with
he don't know none of the rules.
Yeah, I just looked at D like, man, I can't even apologize enough.
And in my mind, I'm thinking this. I got a drum player doing all of this. God damn.
Bars. Talking about it all night. Yes. Light look good over there.
Yeah, the light off is better.
My shit was like sloppy. Like I made that. I got the back.
So everybody, you get comments. Everybody make sure when we speak, we gonna talk.
And then when he hits it,
And you don't have to necessarily look at the camera, like make it natural.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
don't, just be natural.
You
want me to be like this? So
Yeah, don't. Just be natural, have a conversation, be regular.
You never ever sleep
Yeah, be regular. Nobody can smell your breath, K Rich, over there. Like nobody can smell your breath on camera, K Rich.
That's really hard. Put the lifesavers in there, you're gonna be talking like Charles Barkley and shit, like you got a whole damn.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hey, what you doing over there?
Oh, hey. Look at it, Bridget.